what keeps you up at night?
I would say the state of our democracy. I would say that I am really very interested in getting people to focus and to invest and to pay attention to what is happening in our country and in our government.
In our government is the thing that jumps out at me in that quote. While Jackson did not go into detail about what specifically concerned her about the state of our democracy, it is quite striking that a sitting justice felt so compelled to publicly express concern about the government at all. Jackson has recently authored a series of sharp dissents criticizing both the Trump administration and the Supreme Court's handling of cases related to its policies, especially as the conservative supermajority has dramatically expanded the power of the presidency. Her comments come as Trump has used his power to further politicize his Department of Justice to go after his perceived enemies while he continues to make threats to those who oppose him. Just in the past week, we've seen him suggest he's considering taking over control of two cities run by Democrats, Washington, D.C. and New York. Heard a DHS spokesperson leave open the possibility that Democratic Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass would be arrested for showing up at a recent ice sweep at a city park, and learned that the DOJ has actually opened up criminal investigations against two of Trump's frequent targets, former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey. And within the walls of the DOJ, there appears to be major unrest, as NBC News has learned that the Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving his job after a heated confrontation with Attorney General Pam Bondi on Wednesday over his frustration with how the Justice Department has handled the release, or lack thereof, of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Joining us now is Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, Democrat, who serves as the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thank you for coming back to the weekend. So let me start at the end of that intro, and that is on the contretemps between Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who's calling on her to resign or be fired. What do you make of this?
Well, Epstein was a sex offender. He ran a child sex ring. This is true. Donald Trump and Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi all were demanding that these files be released. I echoed that demand during the Biden administration. Why should the public not have access to them? After Epstein took his own life, then the case was over. And at that point, this is a matter of public interest. All of this would have come out during that last trial, but it didn't come out. And all of it should come out. I sent a letter to the Attorney General saying all of these files should be released. Certainly the ones that mention Donald Trump, they should be released. How can Donald Trump get away with campaigning for the release of these files and the whole Republican Party be demanding it, and Pam Bondi say that there's a client list sitting on her desk, and then all of a sudden they want to wave a magic wand and make it all go away? So, look, I think this is a serious matter. It's not just about the division on the right. It's a serious matter that we should know what's on there, because either Donald Trump is covering up for himself, or he's covering up for other people, or he's covering up for the fact that nothing was there, but they made a whole propaganda campaign out of it, or he just wants to have leverage over the people whose names are actually on Epstein's list as being part of his child sex offender ring.
Congressman, you know, I want to get to what the Supreme Court justice said, because as Jonathan put it, it is not normal. It's not something that we see to have Supreme Court justices talk about the government, or allude to the government, right? She didn't get into details, but they often don't even bring it up. They talk about, like, our country as kind of this, like, abstract thing that they're worried about. What do you think it says about where this country is that the Supreme Court justice felt the need to say that she wants people to focus on what's happening within our government?
Well, two remarkable things stand out to me in the justice's remarks in Indiana. One is that it's very clear that Justice Jackson is becoming one of those rare justices like Justice Scalia or Justice Brennan or Marshall, who saw themselves not just in their juristic role, but also in their role as speaking to all of society about the nature of our constitutional compact. And so she is stepping out of the role of just being a judicial interpreter and, like Justice Scalia, somebody who is trying to speak to society. But the second thing was that she used the word democracy, which, of course, the right wing never uses anymore. They don't believe we're a democracy. Anytime you mention the word democracy, the right wing says, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Of course, a republic is just a representative democracy, and we are a representative democracy that has become far more democratic over time with the expansion of the franchise to include African Americans and women and 18-year-olds and so on. We have fought for a stronger democracy. But what she's saying is that we've got groups of people in society, this is the way I read it, who are attacking democracy, undermining the right to vote, making it more difficult for us to have a rule of law, which is the operating system of a constitutional democracy. If we don't have the rule of law, it means whoever gets in power gets to do whatever they want, which, of course, is the Trump MAGA vision for our future.
Congressman Raskin, I would like to hear what you think about some of the comments of the White House border czar, Tom Homan, on Fox News earlier this week.
Look, people need to understand, ICE officers and Border Patrol, they don't need probable cause to walk up to somebody, briefly detain them, and question them. They just need the totality of the circumstances, right? They just got through the observation, you know, get articulable facts based on the location, the occupation, their physical appearance, their actions.
So, Congressman Raskin, that's probable cause he's just dismissing casually. And then you have Donald Trump, who posted on Truth Social authorizing law enforcement to arrest ICE protesters using, quote, any means necessary. What do you make of these developments for the rule of law in America?
It's plainly unconstitutional. There are constitutions on earth that operate like that, which say either there's a state of emergency, which can be unilaterally declared by an executive that then empowers the executive branch and the police and army to do whatever they want. There are some authoritarian constitutions which establish that as a norm. Neither of those is the American Constitution. Our Constitution applies in peacetime and wartime. It applies if we have a Democratic president or a Republican president. We don't have special exceptions which say the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply if Donald Trump is president. We don't have exceptions which say, well, if we're dealing with immigrants, the Constitution doesn't govern and due process doesn't operate. Justice Scalia was someone emphatic about that point, that due process operates both for non-citizens and for citizens. I've got MAGA colleagues who say to me, well, you don't think we've got due process for guilty people, do you? And I just have to crack up because we don't know if they're guilty until there's been due process. And that's what due process is all about. That's what the presumption of innocence is all about. That's what probable cause and the search warrant requirements are all about in the Fourth Amendment.
Congressman Raskin, I want to get your reaction to some breaking news that is happening right now on the president's social media platform, where he announced 30% tariff rate for the European Union starting on August 1st. That was while you were answering the first question at the start of this block. And then as you were answering Elise's question, he announced the same 30% tariff rate on Mexico. Your reaction to that?
Well, maybe I should stop talking because it sounds like he's completely out of it sounds like he's completely out of control. Look, the International Court of Trade, the American court system has been uniform and emphatic about this, right? Congress, under Article 1 of the Constitution, has the power to regulate commerce among the states and with foreign nations. Congress has always been the one to control tariffs and in limited cases has delegated power to the president. Now we've got a president who claims he's got the power to impose tariffs on the entire world, except for Russia, of course. But he's got the power to impose tariffs on everybody for whatever reason, including in the case of Brazil and Bolsonaro, because he's mad at the government there for actually holding his alter ego in Brazil to account for trying to overthrow an election a la January 6th. And then he goes ahead and just imposes these extraordinary tariffs on the people of Brazil. He thinks he can do whatever he wants, but that's not our system. And the courts have said, look, the Congress has not delegated that authority to the president. If we tried to say the president can impose whatever tariffs he wants, that itself would be an unconstitutional delegation of power to the president of the United States. We can't give our lawmaking power over to the president. So, look, we've been winning the vast majority of these cases in district courts and in appeals courts. Our problem has been in the Supreme Court on some of them, not on all of them. We need all of the courts to uphold the rule of law here and say the president is just finger painting on the Constitution. He does not have the power to impose these tariffs. In the Brazil one, for example, he was saying, well, I'm imposing this because of the trade problems they've caused for us. We have a $7.5 billion trade surplus with Brazil. And he just decided to impose it because he wanted to show, his fidelity to his friend Bolsonaro, who he feels is being unfairly treated by the Democratic government there.
Congressman, I misspoke. Those announcements by Trump they came before the segment started. So sorry to snatch back some of your power there.
Don't worry, because we believe in accuracy here.
Right.
So people should take note. Congressman Jamie Raskin, thank you so much for joining us this morning.